Hello everyone, this is Six Path Weeb. Today's topic, what if Naruko mastered Black Leg style? Imagine a version of Naruko who combines her explosive chakra control with a powerful, speed-focused kicking technique. How would her fighting style evolve? How strong would she become? And what impact would this have on her journey? Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. The content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's begin. Inside the quiet seal of the mindscape, the great fox sat back on his paws. He wasn't interested in gloom or heavy thoughts. Instead, he was searching through the long history of Naruko's ancestors to find something truly special. He wanted the young girl to discover the hidden wonders of her heritage, talents that were full of light, grace, and helpfulness. This young lady deserves to see the best of what she can be, the fox murmured, his voice echoing like soft thunder. She has a heart of gold, and it is time her outside matched that inner shine. The discovery of the guardians. As the fox looked through the shimmering strands of Naruko's history, he found two remarkable stories. 1. The Weaver of Light. He saw a woman from long ago who wore a cloak made of starlight. She didn't fight, she protected. With a wave of her hand, she could create shimmering shields of golden energy to keep people safe from storms. She could move objects with a gentle thought, helping builders lift heavy stones to create homes for the cold and tired. 2. The Master of the Aurora. He saw another ancestor who lived in a land of crystal and sky. This guardian used beautiful cylinders that projected beams of soft, colorful light, not to hurt, but to guide travelers through the darkest nights. She could harness the energy of the world around her, creating warm breezes and glowing sparks that brought cheer to everyone she met. This, the fox said with a proud smile, is exactly what Naruko needs. She will be a guardian of the village, a beacon of kindness. A night of transformation. The fox gently shared these memories with Naruko as she slept. He didn't want to startle her, so he wrapped the knowledge in a dream of flying through clouds and dancing among stars. As she dreamed, the fox used a tiny bit of his own warm energy to help her body grow a little stronger and her spirit a little brighter. He helped her develop a special connection to the world around her, a sense of peace and balance that some might call the Force. He knew that by the time Saturday morning arrived, Naruko would be ready to start a brand new journey. The new morning. The sun peeked through the window of the small apartment, painting the floor in shades of orange and yellow. Naruko woke up feeling more refreshed than she ever had before. She stretched her arms wide, feeling a strange but wonderful sense of strength in her fingertips. She hopped out of bed and skipped toward the bathroom to wash her face. When she looked into the mirror, she gasped in delight. Her appearance, she had grown a few inches taller and moved with a new, graceful poise. Her long, blonde hair seemed to shimmer as if it held a bit of the sun itself. Her eyes were clear and bright, sparkling with a deep, sapphire blue that seemed to glow with intelligence and kindness. A gentle glow, when she felt happy, a very faint, golden shimmer danced around her spirit. Wow, Naruko whispered, spinning around to look at her new self. I feel amazing. Testing the wonders. Naruko went into her kitchen, feeling as light as a feather. She noticed a small wooden stool tucked under the table. She remembered the woman in her dream, the Weaver of Light, and how she moved things with just a kind thought. Naruko held out her hand and focused on how much she liked that stool. To her amazement, the stool began to wiggle. With a soft whoosh, it lifted a few inches off the floor and floated toward her, landing gently right where she wanted to sit. Greater than I did it. She cheered softly. I can help so many people with this. Greater than. She looked at her hands and realized she didn't have to pretend to be someone she wasn't anymore. She didn't have to hide her bright spirit or her big dreams. Today is a new day, Naruko said, her voice full of hope. I'm going to use these gifts to make everyone smile. I'm going to be the best Naruko I can be. With a skip in her step and a heart full of sunshine, the young girl set out to start her very first day as a true guardian of her home. Naruko adjusted the collar of her new outfit, feeling a sense of quiet joy she hadn't felt in a long time. For a while, she had stayed in the shadows, hoping that if she remained unnoticed, people would be kind to her. She didn't understand why the villagers often looked away when she passed, but today, she decided to focus on a fresh start. She realized she needed something new to wear that felt like her true self. Her old clothes were becoming a bit small, and the bright orange colors she used to pick didn't quite match the calm person she was becoming. Unfortunately, whenever she tried to visit the local shops, the owners would often tell her they were closed or only offer her the same bright neon clothes she was trying to move away from. Naruko had a clever idea. She remembered a gentle transformation technique she had practiced. With a focused mind and a soft swirl of energy, a small cloud of sparkling mist appeared. When it cleared, Naruko looked like a young traveler with smooth dark hair and a friendly, ordinary expression. She walked gracefully into a clothing boutique, feeling a wave of relief when the shopkeeper greeted her with a warm smile, not recognizing her at all. After looking through the racks, Naruko chose a pair of comfortable blue trousers, a soft red tunic, and a sturdy black vest that felt very professional. She even found a pair of stylish sunglasses to protect her eyes from the bright afternoon sun. After paying the fair price for her items, Naruko stepped into a quiet, sunlit garden path where she let the transformation fade. She put on her new clothes and felt a wonderful boost of confidence. As she walked down the street, she noticed people nodding politely to her. She felt much more approachable in her new, thoughtful attire. As Naruko explored further, she saw a sign featuring two shimmering stars. It was a shop that specialized in tools and gadgets. Naruko remembered seeing beautiful, glowing lanterns and tools in her dreams that seemed to work with light itself. She hoped she might find something just as magical here. Inside, the shop was filled with fascinating things: polished shields, sturdy walking staffs, and unique tools for explorers. A kind, elderly man stood behind the wooden counter. "Hello there, young lady," the man said warmly. "How can I help you today?" "Hello," Naruko replied politely. "I am looking for something quite special. I once saw a tool in a dream, a wand or a handle that could create a beam of pure, colorful light." The man went quiet, looking at her with curiosity. He motioned for Naruko to follow him into a bright workshop in the back. On a velvet cushion sat two silver cylinders that looked very old but very well cared for. "Are these what you mean?" the man asked. "Yes," Naruko exclaimed, her eyes widening. "I am so surprised you have them. My family has preserved many wonders from long ago," the man explained. "An ancestor of mine, a great inventor named Stark, believed that light could be used to help people see through the darkest nights. These have been passed down for generations. They are old, but I believe I can make them glow brightly once more." "That would be wonderful," Naruko said. "Do you think you could help me make them even better? In my dreams, the different colors of light had different meanings: blue for calm, green for growth, and yellow for energy. Could we make a way to switch the colors easily?" The man tucked a pencil behind his ear, looking impressed. "That is a brilliant idea. But how do you know so much about these ancient designs?" Naruko shared the stories from her dreams, describing the beautiful patterns of light she had seen. The man listened intently, nodding as she spoke. "Young lady," he said softly, "I believe these tools were waiting for someone with a vision like yours. It seems they called out to you because you have a heart that wants to bring light to the world." Naruko felt a glow of happiness. "Thank you. While you work on those, could you show me some simple practice staffs? I want to make sure I am responsible and skilled before I use something so special." "A very wise choice," the man agreed. "A true leader starts with the basics." He reached under the counter and brought out two beautiful wooden practice swords, carved from dark, polished oak. They were sturdy and perfectly balanced. "These have been waiting for the right pair of hands," the man said. "If you can dream of the light tools, then you are certainly ready to practice with these." Naruko reached out and gripped the handles. They felt perfect, as if they were made just for her. She gave the man a bright, thankful smile. "How much do I owe you for everything?" she asked. The old man waved his hand kindly. "For the practice tools? Nothing at all. It is my gift to a young lady who seeks to do great things. I will have your light tools ready soon." Naruko thanked him again and walked out into the sunlight, her new practice sword secured safely to her back. As she walked home, the shopkeeper watched her go, a small smile on his face. He knew that Naruko was going to bring a lot of kindness and light to their village. A little while later, Naruko found a quiet, sun-dappled training ground and began practicing with her wooden training swords. She found that moving with two blades took a lot of focus and balance. She realized she could use a friendly sparring partner to help her improve, but she wasn't sure who to ask. Just as she was about to take a break, she heard energetic shouting nearby. Curious, she followed the sound and came upon a very lively sight. There were two gardeners of youth, a tall man and a boy, both with thick eyebrows, shiny bowl-cut hair, and bright green tracksuits with orange leg warmers. With them stood a boy with very pale, clear eyes wearing a tan vest, and a girl in a pink shirt with her hair neatly tied in two buns. The boy with the pale eyes stood up straight and said, "Someone is nearby." "I see her." The girl in pink chirped. She tossed a small practice ball toward the bushes where Naruko was standing. Naruko playfully ducked and stepped out into the clearing. "Hey, easy," Naruko laughed, brushing some leaves off her new outfit. "I just got this vest. Why were you watching us?" The pale-eyed boy asked curiously. Who are you? Isn't it polite to introduce yourselves first? Naruko asked with a bright, confident smirk. Neji, be nice. The girl with the bun scolded. She turned to Naruko with a friendly smile. Sorry about him. My name is Tenten. This is Lee, and that is our teacher, Guy-sensei. It is a great honor to meet a new friend, Lee shouted enthusiastically, stepping forward to offer a handshake. Naruko happily shook it, matching his energy. I thought this place was empty, Naruko explained, showing them her wooden swords. I came out here to practice my form. Tenten's eyes lit up when she saw the craftsmanship of the practice swords. Those are beautiful. Can I see? Naruko playfully pulled them back to her chest. Maybe later. They're my special set. Naruko looked at the group and suggested, actually, I was looking for a partner. I'm working on some new movements I call the Starlight style and the Swift Palm style. I have never heard of those styles. Guy-sensei said, bushy eyebrows rising in wonder. Did you invent them yourself, young lady? Naruko nodded proudly. Then, Guy-sensei declared with a sparkling grin, let us test your spirit against my student. Lee. Lee beamed and hopped into a ready stance. Naruko handed her wooden swords to Tenten, who held them carefully. Naruko stepped into the center of the clearing and took a steady, balanced breath. Ready, Guy-sensei called out. Begin. Lee moved with amazing speed, darting forward like a green blur. Naruko felt her instincts sharpen. She raised her arms to catch a quick tag and moved nimbly to avoid a playful sweep of his leg. Wow, you're fast. Naruko cheered, finding her rhythm. She dodged to the side and tagged Lee's shoulder with a light tap, causing him to stumble back with a surprised laugh. I have found a truly wonderful rival, Lee exclaimed, charging back in. Naruko met his energy, her movements becoming fluid and graceful. They moved across the field in a display of high-energy tag, exchanging quick taps and blocks. Finally, Naruko used a clever spinning move to gently tag Lee's vest, sending him tumbling into a soft patch of grass. Naruko landed gracefully on her feet. It felt as though she had known these moves forever, guided by a sense of inner peace she had found in her recent dreams. Lee sat up, dusty but wearing a giant grin. You are very strong, Lee said. What is your name? I'm Naruko, she answered with a wave. Thanks for the game, Lee. That was a lot of fun. We should do it again sometime. As Naruko headed home, Neji watched her go. He noticed something unique about her. While most people had a steady flow of energy, Naruko's seemed to sparkle with a calm, bright light he had never seen before. He knew she was going to be someone very special. Later that evening, Naruko sat in her living room in a quiet, meditative pose. She remembered from her dreams that she needed to strengthen her connection to a peaceful energy she called the pulse. As she focused, the air in the room felt light and warm. To her delight, a few cushions and even her small tea table began to hover a few inches off the floor, drifting in the calm air. She felt a presence at the window and slowly lowered everything back to the ground. An orange-masked messenger stood there, looking quite surprised. The Hokage would like to see you, Naruko, the messenger said before disappearing in a flurry of leaves. Naruko jumped up and headed for the village tower. Feeling playful and full of energy, she focused that warm pulse into her legs. She didn't just run, she felt light as a feather. She leapt from rooftop to rooftop, soaring through the air like a bird. The villagers below looked up in awe as a golden blur danced across the skyline. She arrived at the Hokage's office and knocked politely. When she entered, the elderly leader, Hiruzen Sarutobi, looked up from his scrolls with a warm smile. Naruko. I heard you had quite an exciting afternoon at the training grounds, he said. The skills you showed were very impressive for someone your age. Would you mind telling me how you learned them? Naruko sat down and told him all about her vivid dreams and the strange, wonderful abilities she was discovering. She explained how she could feel the world around her more clearly and move with incredible grace. I see, the Hokage mused kindly. It seems you have discovered a very rare gift. Would you be willing to show me a little more in a safe environment? They walked to a private garden behind the tower. The Hokage created a few harmless smoke clones to act as targets. Whenever you're ready, Naruko. Naruko moved like lightning. Instead of anything scary, she used her energy to create glowing, translucent shields and ribbons of light. She moved between the smoke clones, tagging them with glowing palms that caused them to vanish into harmless puffs of glittery mist. She then concentrated and sent a gentle wave of energy toward the last target. The clone was lifted gently into the air by an invisible breeze before popping softly. Finally, she called her wooden swords to her hands using only her mind, catching them perfectly as they flew from the bench. The Hokage clapped his hands, truly impressed. That was spectacular, Naruko. It's like you've unlocked two distinct talents, one for moving your body with great power, and another for connecting with the world around you. Does anyone else have these? Naruko asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. No, my dear, the Hokage smiled. I believe these are special gifts unique to you. In our world, we call these bloodline limits, special abilities passed down through families. It seems you have started a very bright legacy of your own. Yes, the old man said, taking out a colorful notebook, and since you are the first one to have these wonderful gifts, you get to name them. Naruko stood quietly as she thought of a name for her new talents. Since they felt so special and unique, she wanted to choose names that honor their endless potential. She adjusted her orange jacket, her eyes bright with excitement. The first one I will call the prototype gift, Naruko said with a confident smile. That is a very interesting choice, Sarutobi said, leaning forward. Why pick a name like that, Naruko? From what I can feel, Naruko explained, these abilities will keep on growing and changing. It is like a beautiful garden that is always in a constant state of evolution, getting better every single day. That is a lovely way to look at it, Sarutobi said, carefully writing the information down with his fountain pen. And what about the other one? I will call it the Star Seeker gift, Naruko said, looking up at the twinkling night sky through the window. Because it feels like it can reach for the highest heights and find light even in the darkest places. Wonderful, Sarutobi said. I will have these registered as your very own special talents in the morning. In the meantime, you should head home and get some rest. Your final day at the academy is tomorrow, and it is a big day for you. Naruko nodded happily and skipped all the way home. As she disappeared into the village, Sarutobi smiled to himself. He knew that with Naruko's kind heart and her amazing new abilities, the future of the village was looking very bright and full of wonder. Naruko woke up with a start, her golden hair messy from sleep. In her dreams, she had seen incredible things, a powerful warrior who could move through the world with amazing grace, and a hero who could lift great weights using only the power of his mind. These visions felt like stories of strength and protection, and they made Naruko feel brave as she began her day. She hopped out of bed, washed her face, and made herself a hearty breakfast of scrambled eggs and toast. After she finished, she straightened her orange jacket and headed out toward the Ninja Academy. It was a beautiful morning, but as she walked through a quiet patch of the woods, she noticed something that didn't feel right. Following a soft sound, she found a small family of foxes resting in a clearing. To her relief, they were all safe, but a tiny blonde fox pup had wandered away and was being cornered by a group of older students who were being quite mean. They were teasing the poor little thing and making it feel very scared. Naruko felt a spark of protective energy rise within her. She couldn't stand to see anyone, especially a small animal, being treated unkindly. Hey! Leave that little fox alone. Naruko called out, her voice clear and firm. The group turned to her, laughing. And what are you going to do about it, Naruko? One of them teased, stepping toward the pup. Naruko didn't hesitate. She felt a surge of energy, a special gift she had discovered she possessed. With incredible speed, she moved like a blur, appearing right between the mean students and the little fox. Before they could even blink, she had scooped the pup up into her arms and jumped safely to a high tree branch. The students looked up in total shock. How did she do that? From above, Naruko looked down with a determined smile. It's not nice to pick on those smaller than you. You should use your strength to help others, not scare them. Using a clever trick she had practiced, Naruko created a few shimmering illusions of herself that danced around the clearing. The students, confused and a bit spooked by her sudden display of skill, decided they had had enough and hurried away back toward the village. Naruko hopped down and looked at the little fox pup. The small creature whimpered, having a tiny scratch on its paw. Naruko closed her eyes and focused on a warm, healing light. She gently touched the pup's paw, and within seconds, the scratch vanished. The fox yipped happily and licked Naruko's cheek. Hey there, little girl, Naruko whispered. Do you want to come with me? I could use a friend. The fox wagged its tail and followed right at Naruko's heels. Naruko realized she was going to be late for class, so she started running. To her surprise, the little fox kept up with her easily, jumping over logs and rocks with great agility. At the academy, Naruko arrived at the classroom just in time. She sat down, and her little fox, whom she decided to name Hitomi, curled up at her feet. Her friend Kiba walked over, his own puppy, Akamaru, barking a greeting. Whoa, Naruko. New look? And who's the new friend? This is Hitomi, Naruko smiled. And I've just been practicing some new skills lately. I want to be the best ninja I can be so I can protect everyone in the village. Just then, the instructors, Iruka and Mizuki, entered the room to start the final exams. The first part was a written test. Naruko sat quietly, focusing hard. She felt a strange tingle in her mind, realizing that some of the questions were designed to be confusing, but she stayed calm and used her sharp intuition to see through the tricks. She finished her test with confidence. Next, everyone went outside for the physical portion of the exam. Naruko showed off her amazing aim with practice tools, hitting every target perfectly. She even demonstrated a unique style of movement that made her look like she was gliding through the air. The final part of the day was a friendly sparring match. Naruko was paired against Sasuke, the top student in the class. "Ready?" Iruka asked. "Begin." Sasuke was fast, but Naruko was faster. She moved with a rhythmic grace, dodging his moves and using gentle taps to show she could have landed a hit. Finally, with a quick and clever maneuver, she caught him in a friendly hold, ending the match. "Winner, Naruko," Iruka announced, beaming with pride. A heroic night. Later that evening, Naruko discovered that Mizuki, the assistant instructor, was trying to take a special village scroll that didn't belong to him. She knew she had to stop him to keep the village's secrets safe. She found him in the forest, and Iruka was there too, trying to protect the scroll. Naruko stepped out from the shadows, her new headband gleaming in the moonlight. "Mizuki, that scroll belongs to the village," Naruko said bravely. Mizuki tried to scare her by telling her she wasn't a real ninja, but Naruko just stood tall. "I know who I am, and I know I want to help people. That's what being a ninja is all about." Mizuko tried to run, but Naruko used her most impressive skill yet. She created dozens of glowing energy clones that surrounded him. "You won't get away with being a bully." With the help of the village guards who arrived shortly after, Mizuki was safely caught and the scroll was returned. The third Hokage, the leader of the village, walked up to Naruko and patted her on the shoulder. "You did a wonderful job, Naruko. You showed true heart and bravery today." Naruko smiled, Hitomi yipping happily by her side. She had passed her exams, saved a friend, and proved that being kind and brave was the greatest power of all. She walked home under the stars, ready for her next big adventure as a ninja of the Leaf Village. It had been about a week since Naruko had helped protect the village and the sacred scroll from Mizuki in the forest. In that time, Naruko had grown much more confident in her unique abilities. She spent her afternoons practicing with her new tools of light, discovering that she could guide her bright energy through the handles to extend the glowing beams. She found she could use this energy to create a gentle, sparkling shield that could dazzle any troublemaker who tried to harm her friends. Her companion, Hitomi, had changed as well. Naruko discovered that the clever fox could grow in size whenever she wanted to be more helpful. Hitomi was now the size of a large, fluffy wolf, though she usually stayed in her smaller fox form to keep from startling the neighbors. Hitomi was a loyal friend, always ready to protect Naruko with a wag of her bushy tail. One sunny morning, Naruko was enjoying a big bowl of Honey Crunch cereal for breakfast. Suddenly, a brave village messenger appeared in the kitchen in a swirl of leaves. Hitomi, who had been napping nearby, gave a surprised little yip and accidentally tumbled over her own paws. "Naruko Uzumaki," the messenger said with a polite nod, "the village leaders request your presence at the Grand Tower." "A request?" Naruko asked with a bright smile, wiping a bit of milk from her chin. "I'll be right there." The messenger smiled back and vanished. Naruko finished her breakfast, gave Hitomi a quick pat on the head, and headed toward the Great Hokage Tower to see what the council needed. A few minutes later, Naruko arrived at the council chambers. Hitomi decided to wait outside in the sunshine, sitting regally by the entrance. As the large, beautiful fox sat there, a group of local children gathered around, giggling and asking if they could pet her soft fur. Hitomi happily nudged them with her nose, enjoying the attention. Inside the tower, Naruko stepped into the large meeting room. At first, she heard the loud voices of people disagreeing with one another, but as soon as the blonde girl walked in, the room became very quiet. Naruko looked at the council members. Some looked quite grumpy, while others watched her with curiosity. "Good morning. Is there something I can help you with today?" Naruko asked, standing tall and crossing her arms playfully. "You should speak with more care, young lady," one of the older advisors, Homura, said firmly. "We are here to discuss important matters." "I am always happy to listen to those who treat others with kindness," Naruko replied with a confident sparkle in her blue eyes. The experienced ninja on the council exchanged amused glances. They were impressed by the young girl's courage and her polite but firm way of speaking her mind. "Naruko," the kind fire shadow began, leaning forward with a gentle smile, "the council wishes to hear more about your bravery the night the Forbidden Scroll was taken." "I'd be happy to tell you," Naruko explained. "I noticed Mizuki was acting a bit strange and wasn't following the village rules. I wanted to make sure the scroll stayed safe, so I followed him to ensure everything was alright. I just wanted to help my home. The reports say you used very special tools, swords made of pure light, said a man named Donzo, who was watching her closely. He was a very serious man, but he could see that Naruko had a good heart and great potential. I do have them, Naruko said. At their request, she reached into her gear bag and pulled out the two handles. With a soft hum, two brilliant beams of golden light extended from them, illuminating the room like sunshine. Where did you find such wonderful things? Asked a curious council member. I found them while exploring some old, hidden ruins, Naruko said truthfully. They were broken, but a very talented craftsman in the village helped me fix them. They are very special to me. Could we have them to study? One of the civilian leaders asked. We could make more for the other students. I'm afraid that wouldn't work, Naruko said softly but firmly. The craftsman told me they are made of a very rare material that no one sees anymore. They only work when they are fueled by a very specific kind of happy, bright energy. In the wrong hands, they wouldn't glow at all. The council members murmured among themselves. While some were disappointed they couldn't make more, the ninja leaders were glad. They knew that such powerful tools were safest with someone as kind-hearted as Naruko. These are my tools to help protect the village, Naruko added, her voice filled with determination. I promise to use them only for good and to keep everyone safe. The room felt warm and bright, and even the grumpiest advisors couldn't help but feel a little bit more hopeful. Naruko checked the clock on the wall and realized the time. Oh. If that's all, I need to go. It's time for team placements at the academy, and I don't want to be late. Naruko deactivated her light swords and hurried out the door. Outside, she found Hitomi surrounded by happy children who were braiding small flowers into the fox's fur. Naruko laughed at the sight of her brave partner looking so silly and sweet. She gave a loud, cheerful whistle. Come on, Hitomi. Our big adventure is just beginning. The large fox nodded her head and rose up gently, ignoring the playful protests of the children who wanted to keep petting her soft fur. Naruko and her companion, Hitomi, made their way toward the academy together. They ran side by side, their spirits high, until they reached the classroom. Naruko took her seat with a bright smile while Hitomi curled up comfortably in the aisle. All right students, Iruka said as he walked into the room. I would like to congratulate those of you who have graduated. Today, you will be joining your new teams. Let us begin. Team 1 will be. Naruko listened intently, her blue eyes wide with anticipation, until Iruka reached Team 7. Team 7 will consist of Naruko Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Your teacher will be Kakashi Hatake. Naruko let out a small sigh, while Sakura cheered happily at the news. Sasuke remained quiet, looking out the window with his usual serious expression. Team 8 will consist of Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Aburame, Iruka continued. Your teacher will be Kurenai Yuhi. Hinata nodded shyly, Kiba cheered, and his little dog Akamaru gave a happy bark. Shino remained calm and silent as always. Team 10 will consist of Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Kuji Akamiki. Ino puffed out her cheeks, a bit disappointed not to be with her friends, while Shikamaru leaned back in his chair and Kuji happily shared his snacks. You will wait here until your teachers arrive, Iruka told them warmly. Since this is the last time I will see you as a full class, I want to tell you how proud I am. Always remember to represent our village with kindness and honor. With those encouraging words, the teacher walked out of the door. One by one, the teachers arrived. A kind woman with red eyes collected Team 8, and a tall man with a beard came for Team 10. Soon, the only ones left in the quiet classroom were the members of Team 7. They waited for nearly 2 hours, wondering where their new teacher could be. What is taking him so long? Sakura asked, tapping her foot impatiently. I hope he has a very creative story to tell us, Naruko said with a mischievous grin. Maybe he got lost on the path of life. Naruko looked at Hitomi and gave the fox a knowing wink. Hitomi trotted over to the door just as the sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. A man with silver hair and a mask over the lower half of his face stepped into the room. Hello there, is this Team? He was interrupted when Hitomi playfully nudged his leg, causing him to stumble back in surprise. Naruko giggled at the sight, and even Sasuke let out a small breath that sounded like a laugh. Naruko whistled, and Hitomi returned to her side, wagging her tail. The silver-haired man adjusted his headband and looked at the three students. Well, you certainly have spirit, he said. Meet me on the roof for our first meeting. In a flurry of leaves, he vanished. The three students hurried up to the rooftop where the sun was shining brightly. They sat down together on a wooden bench. Okay, the teacher said. Let us start with introductions. Tell me your name, what you like, what you dislike, and your dreams for the future. Why don't you go first, teacher? Sakura suggested. Very well, he replied. My name is Kakashi Hatake. Things I like and dislike are personal, and as for my dreams, I have many, but we shall save those for another day. The students blinked, realizing he had mostly only told them his name. Your turn, Kakashi said, pointing to Sakura. My name is Sakura Haruno, she said proudly. I like studying and spending time with my friends. I dislike being left behind, and my dream is to become a great ninja that everyone can rely on. Kakashi nodded and turned to the boy. Next. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, he said clearly. I like testing my skills and learning new things. I dislike wasting time. My dream is to restore the strength of my family name and prove myself to the village. Finally, Kakashi looked at the girl with the golden pigtails. And you? Naruko stood up, her eyes sparkling with determination. My name is Naruko Uzumaki. I love ramen, especially the kind from Ichiraku, and I love playing outside with Hitomi. I dislike having to wait for people who are late. But my dream for the future is to become the Hokage so that I can protect everyone in the village and make sure every single person has a smile on their face. Kakashi looked at his new students and felt a sense of hope. You all have very interesting goals. Tomorrow, our real journey begins. Oh great, Kakashi mentally groaned, an avenger. Please let the last one be normal. Your turn, Miss Bright and Blonde, Kakashi said, pointing at Naruko. My name is Naruko Uzumaki, she said in a calm, cheerful tone. My likes are my friends, Hitomi-chan, the little fox barked happily at being acknowledged, warm ramen on a cold day, and learning from a certain weapons expert. My dislikes are people who are mean to others, and anyone who gives up before they try. My dreams are to master my skills, become the strongest and kindest I can be to make a name for myself, and maybe even become the Hokage one day. Yes. Kakashi mentally cheered. I have a normal one on my team. If the others get a bit grumpy, Naruko might be able to keep everyone smiling. Okay, Kakashi said. We're done here for now. Meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow so we can take the team test. But sensei, Sakura said, we already took the test to graduate. Sakura, Naruko said gently, the first test was just to see if we knew the basics. If my guess is right, this next one is to see how we work together as a team in the forest. Correct, Kakashi said with a mysterious nod. Meet me at the training ground around 8. Oh, and I would recommend a light breakfast, just in case we do a lot of running around. With that, Kakashi vanished in a beautiful swirl of autumn leaves. The group stood up and prepared to head home. Naruko gave a friendly wave to her teammates before she hopped off the roof with a nimble, practiced grace. Sakura and Sasuke blinked in surprise and ran to the edge of the building. They looked down to see Naruko walking away perfectly fine, her golden ponytail swinging behind her as if jumping from such a height was as easy as stepping off a curb. The two looked at each other, impressed by her balance, before they each went their separate ways to prepare for the big day. Meanwhile, Naruko was running through the edge of the forest. She loved the feeling of the wind in her hair and the sunlight filtering through the trees. She felt a special connection to nature, almost as if she were meant to be as free as the birds above. Hitomi trotted happily beside her. Eventually, Naruko stopped to take a quick breather, leaning against a sturdy oak tree. I want to learn some new ways to explore, Naruko thought to herself. I have a lot of energy, but I want to find creative ways to move through the woods without being seen. She was cut off from her thoughts when she felt a tiny tickle on her shoulder. She turned her head to see a small, colorful chameleon crawling across her sleeve. Naruko smiled, her eyes widening with wonder. She gently let the little lizard crawl onto her hand, admiring the way its skin changed from bright green to the orange of her jacket. Naruko sat quietly, focusing her energy and trying to mimic the way the lizard lived. She closed her eyes and imagined herself blending into the bark of the tree behind her. She practiced her focus, channeling her energy into a clever new skill. Suddenly, as she concentrated, her bright clothes and blonde hair began to shimmer, taking on the exact colors and patterns of the forest around her. Hitomi looked a little confused, tilting her head as her friend seemed to vanish into the scenery, though the fox could still smell the familiar scent of sunshine and peppermint. Naruko let herself become visible again and grinned, feeling proud of her new trick. She gently placed the chameleon back onto a leaf. She was ready for whatever challenges the next day would bring. The sun rose over the hidden leaf village, casting a golden glow over the training grounds. Naruko sat on her bed, checking her ninja gear. She had spent the previous evening practicing her unique ability to mimic the traits of the world around her. All right. Naruko thought with a bright smile. If I can learn from the cleverness of the animals in the forest, I can adapt to any situation. Now, what to call this one? Cloak skin? No, that's not quite right. Chameleon spirit? Yeah. That has a wonderful ring to it. Naruko headed home to rest for her big test with Kakashi the next morning. As she ate a nutritious dinner, she wondered if her new teacher would arrive on schedule. She had a feeling he might be a little late. She also remembered his advice not to eat breakfast, but Naruko was wise for her age. She knew that a grumbling tummy would make it hard to focus during a big challenge. Realizing it was likely a test of her intuition, she ate a healthy meal, relaxed, and went to bed with her loyal companion, Hitomi the fox, curled up comfortably on the floor nearby. At Training Ground 7. The next morning at 8 a.m., Sasuke and Sakura were already waiting. Naruko isn't here yet, Sakura noted, looking around the quiet clearing. I hope she didn't lose her way. Sasuke simply leaned against a wooden post, offering a quiet, thoughtful nod. By 9:58 a.m., Naruko strolled into the clearing, looking refreshed and energetic. Sakura turned to her with a look of surprise. Naruko. You're just getting here? Sakura asked. Naruko gave a cheerful wave. Good morning. I made sure to get plenty of rest and a good meal. I found a lovely little spot that serves wonderful pasta. It gave me so much energy for the day ahead. But Kakashi-sensei told us not to eat, Sakura whispered, puzzled. He suggested it might be difficult if we did, Naruko replied kindly, but a ninja needs to be at her best. Besides, since our teacher hasn't arrived yet, we're all technically early. Just then, their silver-haired teacher, Kakashi, appeared in a puff of smoke. Hello, everyone, he said with a wave. You're late. Sakura chirped. I'm sorry, Kakashi said with a sparkle in his eye. I got a bit distracted by the beautiful scenery on the way here. That's quite all right, Naruko said, crossing her arms with a knowing grin. The world is full of wonder, it's easy to get caught up in it. The group looked at Naruko, impressed by her calm and thoughtful perspective. Kakashi smiled behind his mask, realizing Naruko was more observant than she let on. The bell test. Kakashi produced 2 silver bells, which chimed softly in the breeze as he tied them to his belt. The goal is simple, he explained. You must retrieve these bells from me before the noon whistle blows. Those who get a bell will pass this stage of your training. Sakura blinked. But sensei, there are only 2 bells, and there are 3 of us. That's right, Kakashi said. It means you'll have to think very carefully about how you approach this. While the others looked worried, Naruko's mind was racing. This isn't just about the bells, she thought. He wants to see if we can work together as a team, even when things seem difficult. Ready? Kakashi asked. Go. In an instant, the students vanished into the forest to find cover. Naruko and Hitomi moved silently into the lush greenery. Greater than what is our plan, Naruko? Hitomi asked through their special mental bond. Greater than. We stay patient, Naruko replied telepathically. We need to watch and see how we can best help each other. Nearby, Sakura was moving through the bushes, looking for Sasuke so they could make a plan. Suddenly, the forest went quiet. She turned around and saw a shimmering illusion in the air, a trick of the light that made her stop in her tracks. Naruko, watching from the branches above, realized it was time to step in. She knew that to succeed, she would have to use her heart as much as her skills to bring the team together. With those words, Sasuke sat down on the grass, feeling quite out of breath. Sakura, overwhelmed by the excitement of the game, let out a startled gasp and decided she needed a little nap right then and there. Once she was resting quietly, the Sasuke in front of her vanished, and Kakashi stood in his place with a small smile. She has a lot of heart, he thought, but she needs to find her focus. Meanwhile, Naruko was crouched in the tall grass nearby. Her bright blonde pigtails flickered like sunshine against the green leaves. Oh, it sounds like Sakura found a good spot to rest, Naruko whispered to her fluffy golden retriever, Hitomi. We have to stay sharp. In another part of the forest, Sasuke heard Sakura's gasp and knew she was out of the game for now. He decided it was time to show off his best moves. He was sure that with his practice, he could win the bells all by himself. He was a very determined boy, even if he was a bit overconfident. Sasuke stepped out from behind a large oak tree to face Kakashi. The silver-haired teacher looked at the young student. Shouldn't you be hiding? Kakashi asked in a friendly, relaxed tone. Sasuke just looked at him with a serious expression. He tensed up, thinking Kakashi was about to start a new training drill. Instead, Kakashi reached into his pocket and pulled out a small orange book about gardening. Why are you reading about flowers right now? Sasuke asked, blinking in surprise. Because I want to see if the prize-winning sunflowers grow in the end, Kakashi said simply. Sasuke dashed forward, trying to tag Kakashi's shoulder to win the round. Kakashi lightly stepped to the side. Sasuke tried again and again, moving as fast as he could, but Kakashi just kept stepping out of reach, his eyes never leaving the pages of his book. A change of heart. Nearby, Sakura felt something soft and ticklish on her cheek. She opened her eyes to find Hitomi the dog giving her a friendly nuzzle. Sakura sat up and brushed the grass off her clothes. "Did you enjoy your break?" Naruko asked, walking over with a big, bright grin. "I'm fine, Naruko," Sakura said, tidying her pink hair. "Wait a second," Naruko said, crossing her arms thoughtfully. "I think there is a secret to this lesson." "What do you mean?" Sakura asked. "Think about it," Naruko said, her blue eyes shining with excitement. "How are 3 students who just started their journey supposed to catch a master teacher like Kakashi-sensei all by themselves?" "Sasuke is very fast," Sakura said hopefully. "Maybe he can do it alone." Naruko shook her head gently and gave Sakura a light, playful pat on the shoulder to get her attention. "Look at the big picture, Sakura," Naruko said. "We aren't supposed to beat him one-on-one. To win those bells, we have to work together." Sakura paused, her eyes widening as the idea clicked into place. "Oh. It's a team-building exercise." "Exactly," Naruko chirped. "Now, I have a plan, but we have to wait for the perfect moment. The strategy begins." Back at the clearing, Sasuke was having a difficult time. No matter how fast he ran, he couldn't get close to the bells hanging from Kakashi's belt. Finally, Sasuke decided to use a special trick he had practiced. He took a deep breath and performed a bubble jutsu, blowing a massive stream of shimmering, colorful bubbles toward Kakashi to create a distraction. Kakashi was impressed. A student creating that many bubbles takes a lot of energy, he thought. The bubbles filled the air, hiding everything from view. Sasuke smiled, thinking he had won. However, when the bubbles popped, all that was left was a wooden practice log. Suddenly, Sasuke felt a gentle tug on his shoelaces. Using a clever hiding trick, Kakashi had popped up from a pile of leaves and tied Sasuke's laces together, leaving the boy sitting safely but stuck on the soft moss. Kakashi stood up, still reading his book. "You have great skill," Kakashi said, "but you're missing the point of the lesson." Just then, a clear, loud whistle echoed through the trees. Kakashi looked up to see Naruko stepping out of the woods with Hitomi trotting happily by her side. She looked confident and ready. "Ready to share those bells with the whole team?" Naruko asked with a wink. "Not just yet," Kakashi replied, tucking his book away. "Show me what you've learned." The next thing she knew, Naruko was moving quickly to keep up with Hitomi, her fox companion, who was playfully darting toward their teacher. While the teacher was busy watching Hitomi's swift movements, Naruko leapt forward with a bright grin and swung a small training tool. It did not hit Kakashi, but it did catch the corner of his favorite orange notebook. "Oh no," Kakashi cried out as his notebook slipped from his hand and landed in a nearby puddle. He dropped to his knees with a dramatic sigh, throwing his arms up toward the sky as if he were performing in a grand play. Then, his expression shifted from silly despair to a playful, mock seriousness. "You," he said, pointing a finger at Naruko. "You have splashed my favorite collection of poems." Naruko blinked at her teacher's sudden change in mood. She felt a spark of excitement, she knew he was finally going to show them some real high-level moves. Naruko got into a ready stance, and Kakashi dashed toward her. The silver-haired teacher reached out to tag her shoulder, but Naruko caught his hand with a skillful block. She then launched a spirited palm strike of her own. Kakashi jumped to the side with impressive grace to avoid the tag, but Naruko's hand landed firmly against a large, sturdy oak tree nearby. Kakashi froze when he heard a loud, echoing thud. He turned to see the massive tree shudder from the impact of her strength. His eyes widened behind his mask, and he couldn't help but look impressed by the young girl's hidden power. From his spot nearby, Sasuke watched with narrowed eyes. He had always taken his training very seriously, and seeing Naruko display such incredible strength made him realize just how much he still had to learn. Sakura, watching from behind a flowering bush, gasped in surprise. She made a mental note to always stay on Naruko's good side if she was capable of making a whole tree shake like that. Kakashi recovered just in time to see Naruko rushing toward him again. He leapt into the air to avoid the energetic girl. Within seconds, Hitomi jumped back into the game, trying to playfully catch the hem of Kakashi's trousers. As Kakashi hopped to avoid the fox's paws, Naruko jumped over her friend and used a powerful burst of wind energy, sending a gentle but firm gust that pushed Kakashi back several feet. Kakashi landed softly and took a breath, feeling the impressive pressure from the technique she had used. What a clever move, Kakashi thought as he prepared to stand up. However, before he could fully rise, he found himself gently pinned down by the fluffy weight of the large red fox. "Got you, Kakashi-sensei," Naruko chirped, crossing her arms with a triumphant smile. At that exact moment, the training timer began to ring. "Out of time," Kakashi said as the fox stepped back to let him up. "And I see you didn't manage to grab the bells from my belt." Naruko simply pointed behind her, where Sakura was standing and holding both of the silver bells high in the air. "How did she manage to get those?" Kakashi asked, genuinely surprised. "It was a team effort," Naruko explained. "While you were busy dodging my wind technique and Hitomi's distractions, Sakura slipped out of hiding and snatched them. I suppose you shouldn't let a little splash on your notebook distract you from your students." Kakashi rubbed the back of his head, feeling a bit sheepish. He had been outmaneuvered by a group of fresh graduates. Meanwhile, Sasuke had joined the group, looking thoughtful. "Now, Sakura," Naruko said kindly, "what are you going to do with those bells?" "I know exactly what to do," Sakura replied. "I'm giving one to Sasuke, and I'm giving the other to Naruko. She was the one who helped me understand the true goal of this exercise." "Is that so?" Kakashi asked with a smile. "And what was the real meaning?" "Teamwork," Sakura answered firmly. She looked at Naruko with newfound respect. "Well then," Kakashi said warmly. "I am happy to say that you are one of the best teams to ever take my test. You have all passed. We begin our first official village mission tomorrow." The team nodded eagerly and began to head toward their homes when Kakashi called out one last time. "Oh, Naruko." "Yes?" Naruko asked, pausing with a curious look on her face. The sun shone brightly over the Hidden Leaf Village as the young ninja of Team 7 gathered for their afternoon training. Today, however, things took a bit of a silly turn. Naruko, a spirited girl with bright golden pigtails and a smile that could outshine the sun, was determined to show her teacher, Kakashi, just how much she had been practicing. "Leaf-style forbidden technique, 1,000 years of kindness," Kakashi joked, gently tapping Naruko on the shoulder with a wooden training stick to keep her on her toes. "Whoa!" Naruko chirped, tumbling forward into a soft patch of grass. She giggled, dusting off her orange jumpsuit. "You're too fast, Kakashi-sensei. But I'm not giving up yet." Sasuke and Sakura watched from the sidelines. Sakura giggled at Naruko's boundless energy, while even Sasuke managed a small, rare smile. Suddenly, a large, fluffy tail swept across the clearing. It belonged to Hitomi, a giant, friendly fox spirit who was Naruko's closest companion. Hitomi gave Kakashi a playful nudge with her tail, wrapping it around him like a big, fuzzy hug. "Hey! I can't move," Kakashi laughed, pretending to struggle against the soft fur. Naruko zipped back toward them, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "That's what you get for being so sneaky, sensei." Group hug. She leapt forward and gave Kakashi a friendly pat on the shoulder, though she used a bit more strength than she realized. The momentum, combined with Hitomi's playful shove, sent Kakashi tumbling backward. He didn't just fall, though, he accidentally tripped over a loose floorboard on the training bridge, which acted like a springboard. With a surprised shout, Kakashi was launched high into the air, soaring over the rooftops of the village like a silver-haired bird. "Oops," Naruko said, blinking as she watched her teacher disappear into the distance. "I might have overdone it." "Come on, Hitomi. Let's go get some snacks while we wait for him to walk back. I've got a big treat waiting for you at home." Hitomi let out a happy bark, and the two of them trotted off toward the village center, leaving a bewildered Sakura and Sasuke behind. Meanwhile, across town at the village community center, a group of friends including Anko, Kurenai, Yuigao, and Hana were enjoying a peaceful afternoon tea. The garden was quiet, the tea was warm, and the birds were singing. "This is the perfect way to spend a break," Anko remarked, lifting her cup. Suddenly, a whistling sound echoed through the sky. Everyone looked up just in time to see a dark shape plummeting toward the center of the garden's large, decorative fountain. Splash! Water sprayed everywhere, soaking the tea table and the snacks. A very dizzy Kakashi poked his head out of the fountain, a lily pad resting on top of his head. He blinked at the group of very surprised women. Hello everyone," Kakashi said sheepishly, adjusting his headband. "I believe I took a wrong turn at the training grounds." The women stared at him for a moment before bursting into cheerful laughter. "Kakashi, you really should work on your landings," Anko teased, handing him a towel. Later that evening, the Great Hall was filled with the village's top instructors. They were there to report on which new students had what it took to become true heroes. Lord Sarutobi, the village leader, sat at the head of the long table. Kakashi walked in last, still slightly damp and leaning on a walking stick he had borrowed from the garden. Kakashi? You look like you've had a long day, Asuma noted with a grin. It was eventful, Kakashi replied softly. Lord Sarutobi cleared his throat. Let us begin the reports. Which teams have shown the heart and teamwork necessary to pass? One by one, the teachers gave their results. Team 1 failed. Team 2 failed. Team 3 failed. The room grew quiet as it became clear that the standards were very high this year. Finally, it was Kakashi's turn. He thought about Naruko's bright smile, Hitomi's loyalty, and the way Sasuke and Sakura had started to look out for one another. Team 7, Kakashi said, a look of pride in his eyes. They passed. The other teachers looked at him in surprise. Passing a team was a rare honor, but Kakashi knew that with Naruko leading the way with her kind heart and boundless spirit, they were going to do great things. Team 8 passed, Kurenai added. Team 10 passed, Asuma concluded. The future of the village looked brighter than ever. Good, Sarutobi said, leaning back in his chair. It looks like we have the Konoha 12 ready to begin their journey. Kakashi, Kurenai asked, her voice filled with curiosity, how did your team pass? You haven't passed a team in years. Kakashi tilted his head, a thoughtful look in his eye. I had some very interesting experiences with this team. They showed a spark I haven't seen in a long time. I bet it was the Uchiha air, one Jonin remarked. I imagine the little blonde girl was just a distraction. Kakashi frowned deeply at the comment. Actually, he replied firmly, the test started off as usual. The teammates hid, and I had to find them. I caught up with Sakura first, she has an excellent mind for theory, though she was caught off guard by a simple illusion. Sasuke then tried to challenge me head on. He is remarkably fast and even managed to touch a bell, but he couldn't quite retrieve it. He surprised me with his focus, but I eventually managed to restrain him. After that, Naruko showed up. Let me guess, another Jonin chuckled, did she trip over her own shoelaces? Actually, Kakashi said, his tone turning respectful, she managed to do something quite extraordinary. Lord Hokage, you likely watched the exercise through your crystal ball. Why don't you show them what really happened? The Hokage nodded and placed his hand over the crystal ball. The image expanded, shimmering until it was large and clear for everyone to see. The Jonin gathered around, their eyes widening as they watched the recording of the training session. They saw Naruko moving with incredible grace and agility. She wasn't just running, she was dancing through the trees, using her cleverness to set harmless but effective traps that kept Kakashi on his toes. Every time Kakashi thought he had her cornered, she would vanish in a puff of smoke, reappearing somewhere else with a bright, confident smile. The room grew silent as they watched Naruko use a brilliant combination of teamwork and strategy. She had secretly freed her teammates while Kakashi was distracted, and the three of them worked together to finally secure the bells. The precision and heart she showed were undeniable. That, Kakashi said, looking around the room at his stunned colleagues, is why this team passed. Naruko has a way of bringing people together and finding strength where others see none. Well then, the Hokage said, his voice warm with pride, meeting adjourned. The instructors filed out, whispering among themselves about the girl who had exceeded all their expectations. Only Kakashi remained behind. Lord Hokage, Kakashi said quietly, may I ask about Naruko's unique talents? There was nothing in her file about that level of coordination or her specialized movement techniques. I kept those details private, the old leader explained softly. Naruko has practiced very hard in secret. She has a natural gift for understanding the flow of energy around her, allowing her to move as light as a feather and react faster than the eye can follow. She didn't want to show off, she just wanted to be ready to help her friends. Kakashi took a deep breath, realizing just how much potential his student truly possessed. If she had been trying to win for herself rather than for the team, she might have finished the test in seconds. The Hokage smiled. That is the best part about Naruko. She would never choose to win alone if it meant leaving her friends behind. Kakashi bowed and left the office, walking out into the cool evening air. He realized that teaching Naruko wasn't just going to be a job, it was going to be an adventure. With her kind heart and incredible spirit, the future of the village looked very bright indeed. That wraps up today's discussion. If you found this breakdown helpful or it sparked a new perspective, consider supporting the channel by hitting the like button and sharing this video with others in the community. To stay updated on all future deep dives, make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on. Thank you for watching. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.